All right, everyone, welcome back into another live edition of the Patriots Beat podcast here on the CLNS Media Network, presented by our wonderful friends over at Prize Picks. It's Brian Hines back, as always, with Alex Barth. We were down at Gillette Stadium. We got to watch a practice today, day 2 of Patriots OTAs, the first day open to the media. So we were there, what was it, about an hour and a half session, 90-minute session. With OTAs, no contact, no pads. So a couple guys hit the ground to Mike Vrabel's displeasure throughout practice, but very light overall with the contact. So you get what you get. But the big storyline coming out of the day, Barth, Drake Maye, 4 interceptions to start. He did rebound quite nicely to end, which we'll get to, but the 4 interceptions, 2 from Christian Gonzalez, 1 from Craig Woodson, and 1 from Del Pettis. Are you concerned with that start for Drake Maye in this new offense?
3 out of 10 level concern, lowercase c concern. A couple of them, the first one was bad. I don't know what the hell happened. He threw the ball about 20 yards past where he should have thrown it. The only reason it was picked, I don't even know why Del Pettis was there. He wasn't really near the play, but it was thrown right at him. So I guess good play by Del Pettis. The second one was on him as well, an underthrow. The third one was just a great play by Christian Gonzalez. And as much as we're going to talk about the 4 interceptions, and they do deserve to be talked about, we should also talk about how good Christian Gonzalez looked, because he looked unbelievable. And then the fourth one was, again, Maye feeling a little rushed. I wonder, we don't know exactly how they're doing their protections and everything. Marcus Jones came unblocked on a blitz, and Maye just had to get rid of the ball quick, and he threw it to Hunter Henry, who was blanketed by Alex Lawson, who tipped the ball up, and it was a tip drill interception. So, he bounced back, like you said. We have to keep in mind this isn't linear. They practiced once yesterday. They'll practice 2 more times before we see him again. You keep it in mind. If we go out there when they're 5 practices in for our next one, and he's still turning the ball over left and right, 2.5, 3 becomes like a 6. But for now, he had a rough start to the day. He bounced back well. There's going to be growing pains with the new offense. It's day 1. If he's still making these mistakes continuously, it becomes more of an issue. I think we can chalk this up to one bad day. But again, it is something you monitor. It's not something you ignore entirely.
Especially when one of the big concerns last year was the turnovers, right? It felt like coming out of most games, he had some really good moments, but then the turnovers, right? So now he gets out there, 4 interceptions. Now it's day 2 of OTAs. This is a young quarterback still in his second offense in his second years. There's going to be some growing pains, and I think that's just what you saw. But yeah, the first interception, I think there was a guy in his face too, and he just kind of chucked it off his back foot. That was kind of my angle on it, and it just completely soared over who he was going for, right to Del Pettis. But then, the Christian Gonzalez one, Kyle Williams was wide open downfield, and looked like it was going to be right in the bucket. So a really good throw, and then Christian Gonzalez just comes out and hauls it in over his shoulder. So tip of the cap there. And then that last one was batted. Drake wanted PI on Alex Austin too. So, there weren't any refs out there, but, batted up into the hands of Craig Woodson. So that's how we started the day. That was the first kind of team period, 11 on 11s. Now there was a later one that we mentioned that he did bounce back nicely. He worked a couple underneath to Travion Henderson, and then ended the day with 3 beautiful passes, his best passes of the day. Perfect timing, perfect ball placement. Hunter Henry over the middle, a really nice one, and the honey hole to Kyle Williams on the boundary, and then a back shoulder one to Javon Baker on Christian Gonzalez downfield. So they got some revenge on Christian Gonzalez there. So really nice to see how he bounced back, right? Short memory, flipped the switch, and was able to rebound nicely. But yeah, we'll see. We're out there, I think, Wednesday, next Wednesday, next week of Wednesday is our next time we're out there. So they'll have a couple more practices, and we'll get to see, we won't get to see how he immediately bounces back, but we'll get to see if this is continuing to become a trend there with Drake Maye. But anything from Drake or any of the other quarterbacks that kind of stand out? It was the order as expected with Josh Dobbs, and then Woldridge number 3, but anything else from those QBs that kind of caught your eye on day 1 for media, day 2 of OTAs here?
So I don't remember if you were there when I was talking about this. I was fascinated watching Ben Wooldridge because we've seen quarterbacks do this in the past. Like you stand behind the play where the coaches are, instead of being on the sideline and everybody else, you stand behind the play, behind the quarterback that's in the rep. And, we heard Joe Milton talk about this a lot last year, mental reps. You kind of go through, you see it. This is what I would do. Wooldridge took that to another level that I don't really remember seeing anybody do like this. It wasn't mental. He was going through the entire play, like physically. Like he'd get in the stance, whether it's under center in the shotgun, like he'd physically get in the stance just on his own. He'd point and call out calls. And then when the ball was snapped, he'd do the full footwork. And if there's a rollout or a play fake and, give a little shoulder pump or whatever, and then mime the throw. He wasn't even holding a football. And there were a couple times where he called out. So this is when they went split field. So it was Drake Maye on one side and Dobbs and Wooldridge together on the other. And Wooldridge was calling out checks before Dobbs was, when Dobbs was in the play. So I just, we've seen guys take those mental reps. Sometimes you see guys back there and they'll just kind of lazy, like do the thing, like follow through. But I mean, he was like fully invested in it. And there were times where it looked like the Matrix, like a glitch in the Matrix, where he was just perfectly synced up with Josh Dobbs. And again, there were times where he called that ahead of time. I found that really interesting. I would imagine, just knowing this coaching staff's philosophy, that they're going to appreciate that and that kind of dedication. Look, ultimately, he's got to make plays, and he didn't have a ton of actual live reps for himself. He'll get more, I'm sure, as we go on into the preseason. But if he wants to make a push for a roster spot, that kind of, I don't know, for lack of a better term, being locked in like that is only going to help him, I think.
Yeah. Like they're going to have a third quarterback around in some capacity, right, whether that's they're on the roster and you at emergency or a practice squad arm throughout the year. Like there's a spot to win. It's obviously Drake and Dobbs, but there will be a third quarterback around. So maybe that is Wooldridge, but as you just said, like ended there, not much work. It was really Drake, Dobbs, and then Wooldridge got like just a couple snaps to end each period. Right. So not much actually on field stuff to look into there. But sticking with some rotations, let's go to the big boys in front of them along the offensive line. It was Michael Winu and Morgan Moses were out there, but they were kind of limited throughout the day. Moses mentioned after practice, like he had some injuries in the offseason that he had cleaned up. So, he's still just kind of pacing his body. Michael Winu is a veteran. You figure he's on a similar schedule there. So that first unit we saw, so there was a lot of shuffling is what I was trying to say, especially on that right side. But the first kind of walkthrough unit we saw, they were on the right side where we expected. Will Campbell took his spot where we all believe, and we've been told he's going to play left tackle. And Cole Strange and Garrett Bradbury were next to them. So that left guard spot specifically was the big one we were all looking at. Jared Wilson was kind of limited too throughout the day. So Bradbury handled all the snaps for Drake Maye, but the left guard spot start out the day was Cole Strange. So we did see some rotation when the two guys on the right dropped out. Cole bumped to right. We saw West jump in there, but that first five we did see it was Cole Strange. So are you locking him in for week one, starting left guard, Cole Strange there, or what are we thinking?
Yeah, I think we've got a ways to go. I don't know about you, Brian. Did Cole Strange look bigger? I thought he looked like he bulked up a little bit, which
his upper body looked bigger to me. Yeah, definitely.
To play guard in this system, he's going to need to do. So I think it's a good sign for him. I think it's a sign that you're not going to start him out there if he's not in the mix at guard. I think he's maybe more in the mix at guard than center compared to what we had potentially previously thought. But it's an encouraging sign, but it's still early.
Yep. I agree. And then, we saw some Caden Wallace. He jumped in there, when Morgan Moses was out. Not much from Layden Robinson, which was kind of surprising. Like Jack Conley was over him, it looked like at some times. City So wasn't there, so we didn't get to see how he factored into the equation. And Vidarian Lowe, the other tackle, he was out, probably still recovering from that off-season surgery. So a lot of movement, as you would expect, along that offensive line. Vrabel even kind of hinted at that before practice with all of these rotations. He said there's going to be a lot of rotations and mixing and matching at this stage in the process. But the one guy again who didn't move was Will Campbell at left tackle.
Yeah.
Did anything stick out for that number 4 overall pick in the first time we got to see him with the full team? We saw him once during rookie minicamp, but here for the first time we got to see him in OTAs.
It felt like he had some good battles with Keon White, and it's non-padded, right? It's non-padded, so a long way to go. But in theory, like that's the kind of guy that has given Will Campbell the most trouble in college. So I think that's going to be a good battle for him. I think he's going to learn a lot. You could kind of see him adjusting in real time to some of the stuff that Keon White was doing. But I think he's not moving. Everybody else, they're kind of tinkering here and there, and some of that might be due to injury, right? Like Morgan Moses is going to be starting right tackle, but he's coming back from that knee injury he suffered last season, so he's limited. Fine, I get it. Will Campbell said it and forget it. They want him learning that left tackle position. Any idea that, they're going to draft him and they'll see tackle guard, blah, blah, blah. It really seems like they drafted him to fully play tackle. Guard is not on their radar, at least right now.
Yep. I mean, the big thing for me with Campbell was after practice, right? Watching him work back there with Morgan Moses. Afterwards, they stayed out for like 10, 15 minutes going through, looked like some footwork stuff, some hand placement stuff. And then a couple of the other guys, after, they were working off to the side, came over and picked their brain. And I mean, that's what we expected with Morgan Moses, right? Like, not only are we getting an upgrade at right tackle, but this locker room is getting a leader, a veteran. You heard him in the first introductory press conference. Like, you can see maybe a captain, and pulling Will Campbell aside, he said this is something that Will Campbell has to do almost every day, is pick his brain, ask questions. Like that, I thought was an encouraging sign to see that. And, that leaves you excited for, Will Campbell wanting to get better, Morgan Moses for being kind of a leader on this team.
And honestly, you saw that from a lot of these like veteran free agent signings. Another one was Mac Hollins, who didn't take part in practice today, but he was out there the full time. He's in sweats. He's not in uniform, but he's out there the full time. He's kind of helping Todd down and coach up the wide receivers. Morgan Moses, the guy that's been in the league 12 years. If he knows he's not going to be very involved, he doesn't need to be out there. Like, he could easily skip today's session. I was kind of surprised he's there, but he's there. Mac Hollins, another one. If he's not healthy, he really doesn't need to be there, but he's there. And it shows you that culture reset they were hoping to get with this class. This is an example of what we were talking about when we talked about that.
Yep. And the attendance as a whole, right? Like, again, this is voluntary. No one has to be there right now. There probably are some workout bonuses and stuff people get from being there, but this is voluntary part of the offseason. Mandatory mini camp is in a couple weeks in June. And there were 4 guys who weren't out on the practice field, and 2 we knew was with Stephon Diggs and that knee injury, Ramondre and the personal issues. He just lost his father. You hope everything is good with him. But it was City So and Joshua Farmer, the rookie defensive lineman. Those were the 2 really unknowns where those guys were. So,
and I feel like
even not being there.
And I feel like even with Farmer, I mean, a rookie's not going to skip OTAs.
Unless
that's
like
super
an
rare. I wonder if he's also dealing with an injury or something.
And he's signed, right?
Yes, I believe he did.
There were 3 guys who didn't sign: Campbell,
Henderson, and I thought was it Craig Woodson? I'll pull it up.
Maybe. So, and again, Campbell was obviously out there. Henderson was out there, and whoever the last one was.
Yeah, Farmer signed. It was Woodson.
Yeah. So all 3 of the guys who have yet to sign were out there. So yeah, you assume it's something injury related, injury or personal related with Farmer to keep him out there. Then we'll see with City So what happens there. But really strong kind of attendance as a whole there on day 2 of OTAs there. So that's quarterbacks. That's Drake. That's Will Campbell in that offensive line. We'll get to some wide receivers and some other stuff. A couple good days for some rookie wide receivers and second-year wide receivers. But before we do that, I also want to tell you guys about our friends over at Prize Picks. In the football season, it's almost there. It's right around the corner, but there's plenty of sports still going on in the basketball and hockey world. The conference championships kick off tonight. I know hockey does. I'm not sure if basketball does as well, but there's plenty of sports. Basketball does. Timberwolves Thunder, 8:30. Panthers Hurricanes, 8 o'clock Tuesday night. And you can go win up to 2,000 times your cash over on Prize Picks. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for your shot to win. You can go Anthony Edwards, SGA in that Western Conference Finals, go over on their points, go over on their assists, rebounds, anything, lock those into your lineup. Or if you're going to the ice rink, Matthew Tkachuk, Brad Marchand is tearing it up for the Florida Panthers. Put more on his points in your lineup. And it is Tuesday, so every Tuesday, Prize Picks will discount several projections on the board, usually by 15 to 25% on Talk Go Tuesday. So go log in and put some guys and get some discounts for your lineup. And you can do all that on Prize Picks and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. All over on Prize Picks. Run your game. All right. Back to the Patriots practice fields here. Some wide receivers. Big room, crowded room. We knew that. No Stephon Diggs, as we just mentioned, but a lot of rotating still in this room. And I thought 2 rookies were very active in Kyle Williams. He had that one catch, a nice catch from Drake Maye, a couple other targets. One of the interceptions was to him, but he was just out there a lot. And that was encouraging just to see him out there playing the X, playing the outside. So he was out busy. And then Efton Chisholm, the UDFA, more with Dobbs and Wooldridge, but 4 catches in team drills. You see that, the quickness, the ability to change directions, everything we've talked about with Efton Chisholm in that prototypical kind of Josh McDaniels slot receiver. So 2 strong starts for the rookies there. Anything you like from them or anyone else in that room that you saw today?
Well, that's where you start as UDFAs with that second unit. And by the way, both those rookies, Williams and Chisholm, were the last 2 offensive players off the field working the jugs machine after practice. So, yeah, I thought Kyle Williams looked good. I thought it stood out how much they were using him outside the numbers. His usage has been a question since he's so versatile. But look, it's just one practice. But is he the guy that's going to get open on the outside and stretch the defense horizontally? So, it opens up the middle of the field more for guys like Pop Douglas and Hunter Henry. I wouldn't rule that out. And then the other, like Javon Baker made a nice catch, which is good to see. It's not one catch isn't going to put him on the roster, but he's still involved. He's still in the mix, which I think is important. Like we had talked about this is the new coaching staff going to kind of move on from him because he was drafted by the last coaching staff. No, he's still there. Jalen Polk, it looks like, is still rehabbing. He was off to the side. But yeah, it feels even. At least in terms of the split, in terms of how they divided the reps. Polk wasn't involved in team drills. Matt Collins wasn't in uniform. Stephon Diggs wasn't out there, but like overall, it feels pretty even.
Yeah. Definitely a lot of rotating, like not much really to look into. I felt like a ranking, or if you want to like tier how these guys are, because they rotated those wide receivers a lot there. But I thought it was encouraging that those 2 rookies and Javon Baker even, making a nice play. He had another deep catch too on when they split. He was on the other field. I believe it was from Josh Dobbs. So some encouraging stuff there.
I think if anybody had like an advantage in terms of reps, it was Pop Douglas. I think Pop Douglas was probably out there with Drake Maye the most. And then it was pretty even among everybody else.
Taking care of something in the chat there, but
you beat me to it. I wanted to see where he was going with that.
We could unban him and see what happens, see what comes in next. But not much from rotational wise there in the wide receiver depth chart. But anything else from the offense in general? I'll add just not much in the ground game. Mike Vrabel called this a passing camp, but Travion Henderson just looks the part of, the athletic ability, the explosive ability. He had a couple catches from Drake Maye, one from Josh Dobbs too. Like what you would expect to see from Travion Henderson in a non-padded kind of, again, that passing camp, I thought you saw from him today. So that was encouraging. But anything else from the backs, tight ends, or anything else from the offense there?
It felt like Jack Westover got a good amount of run with the first unit.
He's playing some fullback too.
Yeah, maybe more in the mix than we thought. That third tight end spot, we've talked about that being open, whether that's Lampy for the fullback, or if they're going to keep him as a fullback and keep 3 tight ends. So now it's, Jaheim Bell, CJ Dupree, maybe Westover's more in the mix there than we expected, because all tight ends were there today and everybody seemed full go. I don't think anybody was limited. So he was out there on his own merit.
Yeah. Hunter Henry, his usual active self, working the seams, working the middle of the field. Still a favorite target for Drake Maye there. So, yeah, full tight end room, but Westover was interesting. But let's jump over to the defense. We mentioned Christian Gonzalez. He looked in midseason form. He looked like he was ready to go all pro. The 2 interceptions, the second one was an unbelievable play. So he was out there opposite of Carlton Davis, as we all expected. You had Milton Williams next to Christian Barmore, who Christian Barmore looked good, like full participant. So they're getting those new free agent additions in there, acclimated right away, next to or across from the guys that you kind of predict and project. But Gonzalez was amazing. He had a really good day. So what'd you like from those guys?
Yeah, I think that they both have the ability to play more aggressive, knowing the other one's on the other side, right? Like,
yeah,
with Gonzalez, it was simply take this guy away and be that shutdown guy. And I think and the pass rush is part of this too, but I think he's going to have more of a chance to ball hawk. The one knock on Christian Gonzalez last year, fair or not, or like it was overblown, but it was fair, was that he didn't have a ton of on-ball production. He didn't have a lot of pass breakups, didn't have a lot of interceptions. I think having Carlton Davis on the other side and, healthy safety room is going to allow him to play more aggressive and maybe get more of that. And we saw it today, like the ball skills are just unbelievable. When the ball is thrown near him, his ability to make a play on the football is outstanding. So I think he actually might get tested more this year, simply because I think Carlton Davis is going to do a better job on the other side. And I think that may lead to him making more plays on the ball.
Well, you can't avoid both of them, right? Like, you're going to have to
Right.
throw at one of them. Last year, you could just avoid Christian Gonzalez. This year, you really can't do that unless you're just throwing the ball over the middle of the field the whole time. So he probably is going to get tested more. He was on some podcast too, I think a couple weeks ago, bragging about his wide receiver skills. And I think he posted a clip of him playing wide receiver. So you see the ball skills. The ball skills are there. You saw that nice over the shoulder kind of basket catch today there for that second interception. So he looks the part. He looks like he's ready to go. I don't know if he was coming out to prove PFF wrong after they left him off there.
That was ridiculous. Like, I get
all 25, top
25 under 25. I get Drake Maye not being on there, just in the sense that, like, it's 1 year. He only won really one start. There's upside, but is he one of the best players under 25? He's right on that fringe. Christian Gonzalez might be, the best player in the league under 25, pound for pound.
He was an all-pro.
Right. I don't understand how you don't have him on that list.
Did they leave? I think they left Jalen Carter off too. Someone was complaining about that, which that's another one.
That's just PFF, the nerds. Oh, the guy doesn't exist in fantasy football, or you can't draft in fantasy football, so he doesn't exist, because they don't actually watch on Sundays.
I think they rated him high though last year, but
the guy that actually watched the tape and did it, not the nerds that write the stuff.
Not the nerds who write the stuff, but yeah, that Gonzalez snub was crazy. I don't know.
I'm choosing to blame analytics. I don't know if that's accurate or not. If you know me, know that's kind of
somehow this is analytics' fault. Like, you'd like to say he's still underrated, but he literally just wasn't all pro. I don't know how an all pro can be underrated like that. So I don't know. He's out to prove him wrong, I guess. But the other interceptions, Del Pettis, Craig Woodson, those two and Jalen Hawkins got a lot of run at the safety position. It felt like Duggar and Peppers were in that kind of group. There was a big group of everyone who was hurt last year or went through injuries, like Morgan Moses, Polk, Jaquelin Roy, Marcus Epps. He had the ACL tear. There was a big group of kind of limited guys, Duggar and Peppers, who, went through some injuries at the end of last year, were kind of in that group. So that opened the door for Pettis, Jalen Hawkins, Craig Woodson. Two of those guys did get the interception. So there's a lot of bodies in that safety room too. So it'll be interesting to see how that competition kind of continues throughout the offseason here, but good start for Pettis and Craig Woodson. Anything from that safety group or?
Not really. That's one where they got to get the pads on to really judge those guys.
Yeah. And same with, the defensive line.
Yeah. Swinson, another rookie, like Swinson was involved. They're putting these rookies. This was a big thing with the Bill and even in the Mayo. Like they wanted the rookies to be ready before they put them in. This feels like a much more sink or swim approach. We'll see whether or not it works out, but I don't think we're going to do the whole, all right, well, the rookie is really going to have to earn his way in. Like they're going to have to earn it, obviously, but I think that they're going to get more chances to do so right away.
That happened with Jalen Polk last year, and we saw how that went. So,
Right.
hopefully we get some better results with that this year. But yeah, they were out there. The top edges, it was Keon, Chason, Swinson got involved in there a little bit. So I was watching with Tayler for a lot of practice. He was very surprised that Anthony Jennings was, I don't want to say buried on the depth chart, but he was repping. He wasn't really working in, across from Keon White or next to Christian Barmore. And I think last week we talked about him maybe being a surprise cut when we were going through that. What did you look into anything with Anthony Jennings there, or are you just writing that off for one day, maybe?
I'm writing off for one day. We'll see. But
Okay.
in a like we talked about this the other day. Like if he does make the team, and I think he will make the team, if he does make the team, he's going to be a guy that plays on early downs. He's not going to be a guy that plays against the run. It was a passing practice, right? If he's still kind of off to the side when the pads come on, I'll be a lot more worried.
Yep. I'm with you. So anything else from the defense? Again, tough for them always in these situations, but you saw the
They held up
secondary.
today.
Saw the
Yeah.
secondary make some nice plays there. So promising there, especially for Gonzalez. So we'll wrap up with special teams. We got some kicks. We didn't know if we were going to get some kicks in OTAs. I don't believe we got any last year, but we got some today working with what it was tough. They were on the opposite field goal from where we were. So it was tough to kind of get a distance, but I think we ended with the first two for each were around 37 to 40 yards, and then they backed up to about 45, 47 ish yards. So working in that projected range, but Borgalis went 4 for 4, the rookie, and then Parker Romo went 2 for 4, missed one wide right, missed another pretty bad wide left there. So early advantage Borgalis. Did it sound like a rocket coming off the foot to you? Because that's what we were told it sounded like. He had one that was kind of a little low and it just snuck over. But what'd you think of first impressions of seeing Borgalis kick there?
He hit the first one. I'd say he hit the others pretty well. I don't know that I heard that much of a thud, but he hit him well. They were money. He was good. Even with the fact that his miss hit went right down the middle, I think is encouraging because it tells you that overall his operation is very clean, that he can lose a piece of it and still get the result. You obviously don't want to see that happen a lot, but it did. And the fact that Parker Romo missed twice, I mean, early significant lead for Andre Borgalis, which we had talked about this. Like he's going to start ahead. It's not like last year where it's maybe as 50-50. He's going to start ahead as the draft pick, but got a good start on that today as well.
Yeah. And the second miss was for Parker Romo was not very good. That hooked hard left. So
no. And then his second miss being to the right, you worry about that. Is he overcompensating? Where's his head at? Things like that. So not a good day for Parker Romo.
Yeah. Didn't see anything wrong with the snaps though, right? Julian Ashby, check. First day.
Snaps look good. Snaps look good. You know who I did hear the ball come off his foot? Bryce Behringer. Right. Actually, and I was watching him on the side field a little bit too. He stuck one at like the 6th. Bryce Behringer had himself a nice little day out there.
There we go.
No real team drills for punts, but like for what he was doing, he did it well.
Bryce Behringer, the leader of that specialist room, all of a sudden, the oldest vet.
That's right.
Kind of crazy. 3 years, and he's just the veteran in the room there. So that's your special team update. Andres Borgalis, good start for him. He had his Miami was in attendance there today too to support their guy. Some coach it wasn't Cristobal. Who tweeted that out? Was that Reese? Did you see that?
What was that? Sorry, say it again.
Who was in attendance from Miami there today?
I didn't see who it was. I just saw there were some coaches from Miami that were there.
So they're in attendance. Good start for Borgalis there, but believe that's it, right? Anything else to wrap this up?
Yeah, I think that pretty much covers it.
Do you have a Lan Larison update for Titus here in the chat?
Did show some good bursts. He got one ball on a wheel route and kind of took off after he caught it. So
he's smooth, very smooth.
He is. He's real smooth. I stand by my take that multiple UDFAs are going to make the team, and he's right there in the mix.
Yeah, definitely. Him, Chisholm, one of the tight ends, maybe Jack Conley makes a push here. Like, yeah, there are definitely some intriguing UDFAs who can make a push for this roster. But we will wrap this one up here. Day 1 for us, day 2 in general of Patriots OTAs. So we want to thank you for those who are listening to the show. We ask that you subscribe to the podcast, like and leave a review. And for all those watching on CLNS, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe to the Patriots Press Pass YouTube channel, where you can find our show and a lot of other great Patriots content. We have some stand-ups from Mike and Tayler down there on the field today, tons of shows, other shows coming to you with live reactions from OTAs as well. So make sure you turn on your notifications so you know the instant a new video drops or we are going live. And make sure, again, to subscribe to Patriots Press Pass and leave a like or review wherever else you get your podcast. So we will wrap it up there. We'll be back later this week. We'll do a little Forged in Foxboro talk and maybe look ahead to the next OTAs there next week. But in the meantime, you can follow Alex on Real Alex or on Twitter at Real Alex Barth. Head over to 985thesportshub.com for his OTA coverage online there. And you can follow me on Twitter at I am Brian Hines and head to patspulpit.com for our OTA Patriots coverage there as well. Thanks everyone for jumping in with us tonight, and we will see you guys later this week.
See you.